The Bartlett Board meeting for April 16, 2019. I call this meeting to order and ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Trustee Kammerer?
Present.
Carbonaro? Absent. Daney?
Here.
Cabrera?
Here.
Hopkins?
Here.
Ranky?
Here.
President Wallace?
Here. We've requested that Pastor Sue Allen of Living Lord Church do our invocation this evening. Pastor Sue.
Good evening. As communities in Louisiana mourn the loss of 3 churches which were burned, and a global community mourns the loss of Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris, we lift our voices in prayer. Creator God, you know what it takes to bring a community together and what it takes to tear one apart. We ask you to instill wisdom and guidance in the leaders of the Bartlett community. Continue to have them look upon this community not only as a place they serve, but as people's homes. May they serve with compassion as well as wisdom, and continue in this way for this community. In your name, amen.
Thank you, Pastor Allen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Just as a note, I think that the clerk has spoken to some of those wishing to talk about Stearns and Munger this evening. I believe best suited to comment after the committee of the whole meeting. Your comments will be held to 3 minutes. She's got the list, so she will call them. So once we hear the petitioner. And just in the interest of time, the board's thoroughly reviewed the comments of the Plan Commission and the ZBA meetings. So please attempt to keep your comments as concise as possible with any new information that you might have for the board, with the understanding that we've reviewed these packets, and we reviewed a very thick packet over the course of a couple weeks. So thank you. Next item we have on our agenda this evening is the consent agenda. All items listed with an asterisk will be enacted in one motion. There'll be no separate discussion on the consent agenda items. Is there anything anybody would like to add to the consent agenda? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda, which includes items A1, purchase of 2 Ford Fusion hybrids. It also includes the bills list from April 16, 2019. The consent this evening will include under Finance and Golf, an ordinance reserving 2019 volume cap for private activity bond issues and related matters. The consent this evening will also include D1, License and Ordinance Committee, amendment to Title III, Chapter 3 of the Bartlett Municipal Code entitled the Bartlett Liquor Control Ordinance to amend Section 332 thereof to add a new liquor classification for carry-in of beer and or wine consumption on premises, and D2, Apple Blossom Run Parade permit. The consent this evening will also include F1, under Public Works, a resolution approving of the agreement between the Village of Bartlett and Schroeder Inc. for 2019 concrete replacement program.
So moved.
Second. Moved by Trustee Daney, seconded by Trustee Hopkins. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Trustee Ranky?
Yes.
Kammerer?
Yes.
Daney?
Yes.
Cabrera?
Yes.
Hopkins?
Yes. That motion carries. Now I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes, the committee minutes from March 19, 2019, and the public hearing board and committee minutes from April 2, 2019.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Trustee Kammerer, seconded by Trustee Daney. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Trustee Kammerer?
Yes.
Daney?
Yes.
Cabrera?
Yes.
Hopkins?
Yes.
Ranky?
Yes.
Motion carries. Next item we have on our agenda this evening is the Treasurer's report. Mr. Treasurer?
Thank you. Included in your packets tonight is the treasurer's report for the month of February. Also included is a sales tax report. Sales tax received in February were $196,714. That was down $10,122 for the same month prior year, about 5%. Also included is the MFT report, $89,403. That was also down slightly by $3,830 from the prior year, same month. That's it for the treasurer's report. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Treasurer. Next item we have this evening is our President's report. First item is the Building Safety Month proclamation, and I've requested that our Building and Zoning Committee Chairman Hopkins, read the proclamation for us this evening.
Thank you, President Wallace. This is Building Safety Month proclamation for Building Safety Month, May 2019. Whereas the Village of Bartlett is committed to recognizing that our growth and strength depends on the safety and economic value of the homes, buildings, infrastructure that serves our citizens, both in everyday life and in times of natural disaster. And whereas our confidence in the structural integrity of these buildings that make up our community is achieved through the devotion of building safety and fire prevention officials, architects, engineers, builders, tradespeople, design professionals, laborers, and others in the construction industry who work year-round to ensure the safety construction of buildings. And whereas the International Code Council that brings together local, state, and federal officials that are experts in the built environment to create and implement the highest quality codes to protect us in the buildings we live, learn, work, worship, play. And whereas these modern building codes include safeguards to protect the public from natural disasters such as hurricane, snowstorms, tornadoes, wildfires, floods, earthquakes. And whereas Building Safety Month is sponsored by the International Code Council to remind the public about the critical role of our communities, largely unknown protectors of public safety, our local code officials who assure us of safe, efficient, and livable buildings that are essential to American prosperity. And whereas no code, no confidence, the theme for Building Safety Month 2019, encourages all Americans to raise awareness of the importance of safe and resilient construction, fire preventive, disaster mitigation, new technologies in the construction industry. Building Safety Month 2019 encourages appropriate steps everyone can take to ensure the safety of our built environment and recognizes that the implementation of safety codes by local, state agencies has saved lives and protected homes and businesses. And whereas each year, in observance of Building Safety Month, Americans are asked to consider the commitment to improve building safety, economic investment at homes and in the community, and to acknowledge the essential services provided to all of us by local and state building departments, fire preventive bureaus, federal agencies, in protecting lives and property. Now, therefore, Kevin Wallace, President of the Village of Bartlett, Cook, DuPage, Kane counties, do hereby proclaim the month of May 2019 as Building Safety Month in the Village of Bartlett.
Thank you, Chairman Hopkins. Next item for the President's report this evening is the Arbor Day Proclamation. Whereas in 1872, J. Sterling Morton proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a special day be set aside for the planting of trees, and whereas this holiday, called Arbor Day, was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska, and whereas Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world, and whereas trees can reduce the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, cut heating and cooling cost, moderate the temperature, clean the air, produce life-giving oxygen, and provide habitat for wildlife. And whereas trees are a renewable resource giving us paper, food for our homes, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and countless other wood products. And whereas trees in our village increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of business areas, and beautify our community. And whereas trees everywhere, wherever they are planted, are a source of joy and spiritual renewal. Now therefore, I, Kevin Wallace, President of the Village of Bartlett, Cook, DuPage, and Kane Counties, Illinois, do hereby proclaim April 26, 2019 as Arbor Day in the Village of Bartlett, and urge all citizens to celebrate Arbor Day and to support efforts to protect our trees and woodlands. And further, I urge all citizens to plant trees to gladden the heart and promote well-being of this and future generations. Dated the 16th day of April 2019. Next item we have on our agenda this evening is questions. Does the board have any questions or comments?
Yes, I have a couple of them. First, I'd like to start on a cheerful note. We have a member of our staff that's here this evening celebrating her birthday, and that's Christy Stone. Congratulations. I'm not going to ask you your age. And also, we have the Honorable Aaron Ranke, who just had a birthday this past Saturday.
Happy birthday to you.
Thought we weren't going to sing.
We shouldn't.
And with that being said, the second thing I just wanted to ask is we had talked about the intersection by J.C.'s at Oak and Railroad. And Dan, we were talking about restriping that possibly. Just give me an update on that, please. Give us an update.
Yeah, we looked at it. We have we're looking at whether we can do it or whether we would have a contractor do it. It'll get done this summer. As soon as if we have to wait for a contractor, we have to wait until.
I'm sorry?
We'd have to wait for a contractor to get into town.
Oh, okay.
They're not doing that work just yet. Asphalt plants are just opening up and all that stuff, so.
Right.
We'll get it this summer for sure.
Thanks, Dan. That's all I have.
Anything else?
I do actually have a question that just Ray reminded me to ask, actually. And so this might be directed towards Paula. As I happened to be sitting having dinner over the weekend at a restaurant right across the street from Village Hall, I had the opportunity to look right across the street, and it occurred to me that our village sign seems to be in need of repair pretty substantially. It's to the point where you cannot read that it says the Village of Bartlett on the imprinted letters on that sign. So is there a way we could look into having that painted so it would actually say the Village of Bartlett, so if people drive by, they could see it?
We had a similar issue with the tower where it says Police Department and Village Hall, and we have an epoxy that can get painted into that so that you can see, it makes the engraving pop, and we are planning to do that to the sign this summer.
Okay, good, because it would be nice to be able to read
Yeah,
what
good idea.
the sign says.
Thanks, you reminded me also, you know, when you're on Western headed to Bartlett Hills, during one of the storms, a tree branch came down and they bent that sign right there at Oneida and Western. It's that brown sign. We cut the tree down, but the sign is in bad shape. That's it.
Anything else? All right, that brings us to the town hall portion of our meeting this evening. As we discussed earlier, if you have comments as far as Stearns and Munger, we'll hear from the petitioner. We'll also hear questions and stuff from the board. We'll hear comments from staff, and then you'll have some time at the committee meeting to weigh in your 3 minutes of comments. At this point, would anyone like to step up to the podium, state your name and address for the record, and keep your comments to 3 minutes for the town hall portion of our meeting? Any subject other than Stearns and Munger would be best. Yeah, you can do that at the committee, or you can do it here if you'd like, but it'd be better to do it at the committee, I think, if it's...
Yeah, it's probably best.
We just don't want to get it both sides of the fence here, and, yeah. Okay. Moving on to our standing committee reports this evening. First standing committee report is under Building and Zoning. Chairman Hopkins.
Thank you, President Wallace. Item A1 was covered under the consent agenda tonight.
Thank you, Chairman Hopkins. Next standing committee report this evening is under Community and Economic Development. Chairman Gabrenia.
Thank you, Mr. President. We have one item under our committee this evening, and that is the Bartlett TAP Beta application. And for more information, I will pass this to Scott Scricky.
Thank you, Trustee Gabrenia. The property that's before you tonight is 113 West Railroad Avenue, and the project is a revival of the Bartlett Tap. This particular item was at the EDC in December of last year, and it was before you at Committee of the Whole in February of this year. The amount that was that's being recommended before you is $35,000, which equates to 26% of the private investment that Mr. Castilla made of $132,000. That number has probably since grown since that document's been transcribed. Some of those items include a brand new fire suppression system, ADA compliance, a rebuild out of a refrigerator unit that was 130 years old. This project will really put a check mark next to one of your strategic plan goals, which is the redevelopment of West Railroad Avenue. So it accomplishes that as well. We've enjoyed working with Mr. Castilla. He's repaired every single code violation, some of which were, like I said, very old. So he's gone above and beyond. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. And Mr. Castilla is here as well.
Hello.
Thanks.
So what you have in front of you is the private soft opening for the village of Bartlett and the committee and the employees of the village. So then I can actually go on record and finally state the date to the public. So, so the date that I will be officially opening to the public will be April 30th on a Tuesday, shortly after that particular invitation that you guys have in your hands right now. So I've done a lot of work on that building. It's taken me 9 months to get it to look the way it looks when you see all the work I've done. I mean, the cooler was just a small portion of a 137-year-old building cooler that it works. It works, and it's nice and cold, and everything inside, it's nice and cold, but all the violations and upgrades and anything and everything that it needed repaired has been repaired and approved. And that was my biggest task I've ever endured. So
We're glad you took it on.
thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
I'll just entertain a motion if someone has to read the motion.
I would love to. I move to approve a BETA grant in the amount of $35,000 to John Castilla upon the completion of all work and documentation of all payments as they relate to the rehabilitation of Bartlett Tap at 113 West Railroad Avenue.
Second.
Moved by Trustee Gabrenia, seconded by Trustee Ranky. Is there any other discussion?
No. Congratulations on getting this far.
The clerk,
Thank you.
please call the roll.
Thank you.
Trustee Daney,
Yes.
Gabrenia,
Yes.
Hopkins,
Yes.
Ranky,
Yes.
Camera.
Yes.
That motion carries. Good luck, and
Thank
we're
you.
looking
Thank
forward
you. I'll
to
see you guys.
stopping by.
You guys on the 25th.
And we look forward to seeing you at the Chamber, at Rotary, at Lions Club, at all of the places
Yes.
you can come and shout the good news.
Just joined today, so
Good.
put the sticker on the door.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here, too. All right, thank you, Chairman Gabrenia.
Thank you. That is all for us this evening, Mr. President.
Next item on the standing committee reports this evening is Finance and Golf Committee Chairman Daney.
Mr. President, thank you very much, but item C1 was covered under the consent.
Thank you, Chairman Daney. Next item for standing committee reports this evening is License and Ordinance, Chairman Kammer.
Thank you, Mr. President. Our two items were also covered under the consent agenda.
Thank you, Chairman Kammer. Next item is Police and Health Committee, Chairman Carbonaro. He is absent. He has nothing on his agenda this evening. Finally, under standing committee reports is Public Works Committee, Chairman Ranky.
Thank you, Mr. President. The only item was covered on consent.
Thank you, Chairman Ranky. Does anybody have any new business they'd like to discuss?
Sure.
Questions? Any questions or any for anyone? I hate to do it, but I'd love to get an update on the water. I know I pester you every meeting, but people are pestering me, Dan.
It is moving along very well. If you've been by South Bartlett and Stearns, they're putting in the final 16-inch water main under the road. The auger went very well, the casing pipe's in place, and they're figuring on the pipe being done by the end of the week or early next week, and that'll be all of the water main that needs to be installed. DuPage Water started flushing the 30-inch main out in Roselle, and they're heading west to Bartlett. They should be in Bartlett tomorrow. This is all in preparation to get that line cleaned, disinfected, sampled, so we can get it put online. The receiving station and metering station are moving along very well. Electricians are going nuts, and the pipe work is, all the big pipe work is done. They're just putting all the little instrumentation on it now. We're filling the reservoir to 1.5 million gallons. It needs to be filled over a 4 to 5 day period just to let it kind of settle in. So we started that actually yesterday, so it should be done by the end of the week. But it's moving along very well.
Good. Thanks, Dan.
Can I ask a question? I've had residents ask me, how will it be when we get the new water? Like, what will we experience is their question. Will it look different, smell different, feel different? At what point will we be able to get rid of our water softeners? That's a huge question.
We'll make sure we get the word out when you can get rid of your water softener, but hopefully you will not notice anything other than when you turn on the tap, water, just like you've always had, comes out. Hopefully it'll taste better than what you had if you didn't like the taste. But once the system gets, it'll be a matter of time before it fills the entire system with Lake Michigan water, but we'll make sure we get the word out that water softener, try to turn off your water softener, try it without it, because this water is softened and you should not need to use it. But yeah, it's going to be here real soon.
I'm sure the Park District is really thrilled that we're almost done out of their way. See those kids playing soccer, and we've got drills going on. Anything else? All right, just to mention to everyone here, we will be adjourning to executive session immediately following the Committee of the Whole meeting. So that's going to be happening this evening as well. With that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Trustee Daney, seconded by Trustee Hopkins. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Trustee Kammer?
Yes.
Daney?
Yes.
DeBrenya?
Yes.
Hopkins?
Yes.
Ranky?
Yes.
We are adjourned. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Village of Bartlett Committee of the Whole meeting.